Huh? Hi, Monique. How are you?
I'm well. How are you, Marcella?
Fine, thank you.
Oh, goodness. Let's see. Hopefully, everyone is here and we get this party started. 1 minute, please. Let me grab my other computer. I'll be back.
Yeah, no. Hi, Janice. How are you?
Oh, that didn't help. I have a glare on my glasses. I was trying to get rid of it. That didn't help. Nope. Nope.
Hello, how's everyone?
Hi.
Fine, thank you. And you got,
Really hot Thursday.
I know.
Yes,
It's been a long day.
I can tell Marcel. I was like, hurry up and get this over. One more hour, it'll be done.
Monique,
Hey, y'all.
should we wait for a little bit more, or do you want to go ahead and go live on Facebook? You let me know whenever you're ready.
You can go live right at 5:30, and then we'll start, especially if it's only the four of us, we'll start we'll wait.
I don't know if I count as one of
Right,
them.
right. So I think I don't know, do I have to have a quorum for a subcommittee meeting?
I don't know. I remember last time Kiana was kind of worried because there were not there were not at least four members, four commissioners. So
But
and
was that
we couldn't.
was that for a regular commission meeting, or was that for a
No, it was actually the Vision and Mission
Okay.
subcommittee. So I'm not sure. We were trying to contact Bert to ask him if it was okay, but then two more joined last minute, and we were able to go ahead. So I don't know. Do you want me to text Mindy to see if she's going to be, because you got the reminder, right? About an hour ago,
Yeah.
I sent it.
I did, and we have someone in
So-
the attendee section.
Yeah, but no, I don't know who that is. It says,
I don't know.
yes, I'm not sure if, I just promoted Kathy because, I know she's a commissioner, but that person, I'm not sure who it is.
Okay.
And somebody told me that a while ago, there was a Russian hacker on one of the meetings. So I'm not sure if I should, and it's not saying anything. It's not asking for,
Yeah, I can't.
do you want me to promote that person?
Well, I can't
That-
communicate with them.
Okay,
there's
now we have four.
four, but I don't know if we can.
I can promote that attendee, but I'm not sure. I don't think that's a commissioner.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I guess you can leave it, because I think even if they're an attendee, they can check if they need to. And it's
Yes,
not a-
yes, exactly. So that's why I'm not doing anything, because if he was or she was a commissioner, he can let me know, I'm waiting here. I cannot join the
Yeah.
meeting, or
I'm just
No.
leaving a note.
Hey, Moody.
You let me know whenever you want me to.
You can go live.
Okay, give me a second. I'm gonna go. I'll let you know.
I do see Major Harrell is under attendees, and we would want to promote her over.
Yeah, she
Okay,
just
I will we're going live right now, and I will promote him to promote her to a panelist. Okay, we're going live now.
Thank you.
Okay. I think I'm gonna wait until another couple of minutes, see if anyone else joins us before we call the meeting to order and take attendance. Let's see if I can find my agenda.
How is everyone doing today?
We are
Okay,
well, sure.
thank you.
Great. I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
I am good. It has been busy. I had a in-person meeting for a sales deal here in Buckhead. I haven't had one of those in a while. And it was scheduled for an hour and 15 minutes, and it took 3.5 hours. So I got home 15 minutes ago, put on normal clothes. And then
Oh,
tomorrow
super.
we're heading to Toronto. So
Oh, wow.
Exciting.
Yeah, well, at least you got they say you leave the house anyway. All we need to keep you safe.
Monique, you cut it in and out there for me, so I missed what you said.
We are live on Facebook now.
All righty. Well, and it is 5:34. I'm gonna wait right until 5:35, and I will call the meeting to order. And SJREC, I have up the roster, so I can actually call the roll if
Okay.
necessary. I just need the agenda up. Okay. Good evening, Major Harrell. Meeting to order. Today is August 25th, 2021, and it is 5:35. I welcome all of my subcommittee members and visitors and liaisons to our meeting tonight. And as there's been an agenda that was already published, and hopefully everyone has a copy of the agenda. If not, it's rather simple, and we'll just kind of go through it together. You're welcome to the meeting. I'm going to go ahead and do roll call now. Let's see if I can get our roster up. I have a co-chair Commissioner SJREC,
Present.
co-chair Monique, present. Members, Commissioner Connie Todd. She has a work engagement conflict tonight. Commissioner Janice Nasi. Did I do it wrong?
See, I'm here. Yes.
Hi, Janice. One of these days, I'm gonna get it right the first time. Sorry.
All right.
Recording in progress. 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 Rec
present, right?
I don't think I could hear you while you were talking, Monique.
Can't
Here.
hear
Oh,
you.
Commissioner Kathy Wells.
Here.
All right, sorry about that. Commissioner, Commissioner Kirk Nelson and Commissioner Zaki.
He messaged saying he wasn't going to make it.
Okay, all right. Well, it looks like that's all. For the record, we have Mindy Cow here as well as
I lost you.
Monique, I think your sound went out again.
looks like everybody is paused. Is it
Okay.
already happening? Can y'all hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Now I can.
Yeah, I was in the middle of saying we're getting bad weather and my lights are going in and out. So SJREC, I'll let you go ahead and lead the meeting from here. And
Yeah.
maybe, because I keep getting notice that my internet's unstable.
I paid someone a bunch of money to make my internet faster this week, so we're gonna see how well that holds up, because I was getting really frustrated. So the purpose of today's meeting, I think everybody saw the agenda, was really to start to focus in on stakeholder engagement, and we kind of have these two paths going in stakeholder engagement right now, based on what we've talked about as a subcommittee. So Davis has been kind of leading the effort and talking to folks about doing the civic dinners with the police officers, right? And there's kind of some conversations going around about when and how and who and stuff like that. I think that's a great opportunity for any of the commissioners who are comfortable joining the session, comfortable showing up in person, right? Because I think a majority of those would probably be held at the police station, for us to engage with the police officers as part of our stakeholders. The other side of it is starting to figure out how do we gain some insight from the community itself, right? And so Major Harrell had provided the list of partnerships that BPD has. We can take a look at it together in a second. I posted it in Basecamp with the post, but basically it has religious organizations, so faith-based organizations. It has neighborhoods and HOAs, and then it even has business developments, it looked like around the Beaufort Highway corridor. And so one thought we had while Monique, Mindy, and myself were talking is that we as a committee, I think, have struggled a little bit as to how to get the feedback from the community about the issues, the priority issues that we've been discussing. However, there are a lot of communities that are represented on this list. So one place that we could start is by surveying folks on this list based on targeted questions. An example of that is that Davis and I were responsible for the idea of like external board that partnered with the police officers, right? And so we have the list of folks that the Major Harrell has relationships with, right? And that they do regular events with. And so starting to get a sense from those people, how they perceive the relationship with BPD, right? And what they're seeing the value is for their communities for working with Brookhaven Police Department, and using that as a measure to really understand, is it a board that's needed? Do the partnerships need to be tightened from where they are in some way? Are people already getting the value, right? And we just didn't know about it, and it's about communicating or maybe expanding that sort of partnership program. And so what we were hoping to discuss today, and maybe hoping for some pre-work to be done before today as well, was for your priority items, if you had the opportunity to go through the list and determine, you know, are there organizations that or groups that you would like to survey on there, and if so, what those questions would look like. And from your perspective, Major Harrell, you know, we'd also just love your insight on, you know, the survey and the questions we're asking and stuff like that as well. That was a cool monologue. Does that make sense to everybody, or any thoughts about that? Have you guys had a chance to look through the list or think through questions you might want to ask to different groups on the list?
One of the things that we suggested would be different in our survey than just kind of like this mass survey was that we really wanted it to be almost like a guided survey in the sense that we were really intentional on who we were surveying, and that each subcommittee member would be responsible for contacting like the point of contact for the organization and making sure they don't have any questions and kind of encouraging them to complete the survey. So for instance, if one of the organizations we decide to survey is the Latin American Association, we have our survey very, brief enough, reasonably brief, but then we have a point of contact there. We get the survey to them, and then, we'll get a commissioner that's just kind of assigned with sending an email, making sure that that person got the survey, that, they don't have any questions. And so we're also doing the work of letting them know that this subcommittee and the commission exists, and they're not kind of getting the survey in a vacuum. So if each of us has, if it's 6 of us on the subcommittee and each of us have maybe 10 organizations that we're going to contact to almost track the surveys, that also puts kind of a name and a person behind the survey. So I did want to get feedback on that idea of kind of walking the survey through to the organizations as well. Kathy, thoughts?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts about it because I was with Lauren and we were doing the police community engagement. So I did have an opportunity to go through it and to go through the website and all the things. A really polite person sent me the list of community engagement. So I really think, first thing, we got to consider this whole committee, this whole social justice commission, need to consider what, like people been asking me, how diverse will Brookhaven be in 5 years, 10 years? The recommendations that we are making, how realistic are they? I looked at the list of, I was really glad to see the list of diversity in that list that we sent out. And I had an opportunity to call a few people, just the churches in Linwood Park that I work with. One of them had actually worked with Brookhaven. The other 2 had never been contacted. And so I'm just kind of coming from that perspective. I would like to have survey questions that have to do with police engagement and the type of police engagement that's going on. And I mean, like projected into the future. Like I'm thinking like police engagement now really should be more education because crimes have changed. Now we've got trafficking, we have gender biases. There's a lot of other things that come into place. And it's not just black and white, it's just all kinds of minorities that we have. So that was just my take on it.
For instance, then I think that that's a great question. I mean, a survey question, do you believe police engagement should include such things, or the following things should be included in police engagement? Yeah, just kind of however you imagine that particular question, and then kind of looking at the list. Is this a question for, you want all of the faith-based organizations? I think we're sending the same survey, obviously, to whoever, but if you have a target audience for your questions, that I may not have necessarily had for mine, then that particular audience is going to get both your questions and my questions because they're all on one survey. And that's great because you'll inevitably get something from someone I didn't think of. One of the reasons we wanted to make sure Major Harold was involved in this conversation was once we actually have our survey questions, I didn't want there to be almost like misinformation in the question, right? Like a lack of appreciation maybe for the work that's already done or something that's already there. So maybe if we had something like, I don't know, say it was like around the racial collection data, and it said something like, you know, do you think ethnicity should be collected as well as race? And I just imagine that was a question, and it would almost assume that it's not collected as well as race, but we all know, since we're on this committee, that they both are. And so, but that question would almost be faulty, and it would kind of probably spread more misinformation than actually getting the data that we need. Like, and so I just wanted her to take a look at the questions to make sure that we're capturing kind of the right things. And to the extent that I also wanted to suggest that we do little introductions to the questions where necessary. So remember at the civic dinners where we kind of have a little blurb that said, hey, you know, there's disproportionate, like blacks and whites are disproportionate mean income, yada, yada, yada. Like it had all of this information, like little background information, maybe 3 sentences, and then it asked the question. To the extent that we need to provide context for any of our survey questions, we want to do that as well, based off of maybe some of the things that we've learned in our research. And again, to the extent that we may be misstating something or not fully appreciating something, again, I wanted to give BPD a chance to like kind of make sure that we're not inconsistently kind of framing some issues different than what the data says, or and maybe it's different because we see it different, right? But that's fine as long as we're both on the same page as why we framed it that way. So that was kind of the thought process we wanted to go into with the questions, and where exactly we felt like Major Harold and her team would be helpful. So Connie and I, we exchanged texts about some questions. We really didn't have the time, and then she kind of got overwhelmed today with not overwhelmed, I guess double book, triple book today with some things. So I did know that the organizations we wanted, all of them weren't on here. There were a couple of faith-based things that we were aware of even in Brookhaven that weren't listed here. And I think did we say sure like the mosque wasn't even on here?
Yeah, that was one of the things that we noticed was missing.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important part of it too, to your point, Kathy, about what the diversity will look like is I think it's worth taking a look at it and seeing if we know of organizations that maybe should be on the list, right? And we can even ask Major Harold, like, hey, we see these guys in the community. We didn't notice them on the list. Is there a reason for that, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times it's stuff like non-responsiveness and things like that at times too, so we can get some background as to what happened. But that can also be part of the recommendations we put back, right? Like we know that Zucky is involved with the mosque isn't on that list. Maybe there's a way to help create that relationship from the committee's perspective too, between BPD and that org.
Yeah, and as well as with hand walking or walking through the survey, when you're delivering it to one organization, just in casual conversation, you may end up with them saying, oh yeah, there's also this place. And just our survey doesn't have to be limited to BPD's partners, but this was just a really good place for us to start. So, and partners don't always just mean like folks that they've somehow warmed up to them and are only going to say amazing things. Like these are just their points of contact that they've worked with before or have relationships with. So, yes,
Hey, Mom.
Carol.
What is the name of the mosque that wasn't on the list that I sent?
It's the mosque that's on Briarwood, Major Harold. So I think it's Abu Bakr, ABUBAKR, but I think they also occasionally go like Brookhaven Islamic Center or something like that. But it's by
I know,
So-
yeah, I know where it's located. That's where our new
yes.
building is going up. So I want to say we have contacted them and we have had a relationship with them. I will have to check my community engagement unit. I can't see us not, leaving them out because we know they're there.
Yeah. I was really surprised to not see them on the list either when I was taking a look at that, because I figured that you guys had at some level been in communication. I mean, at minimum, there's a police officer there every Friday during the big prayers, right, to help with traffic and during holidays and
Right.
stuff like that.
So it may have been a mistake.
And that's why that's an example of why we asked Major Harold to join this conversation to help give us some of that context, or even dig into it in this case to figure out why they aren't on the list.
Yeah, and I can double check that list and have my community engagement officers just double and triple check it as well. Because I tried to get that put together for you as fast as I could. So we may have accidentally left a couple off, but I'll have them recheck it just to make sure.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And I think we can probably finalize the survey over the course of the next week or so, right? Probably
Okay.
just put it, since everyone's not on here, we can maybe put our thoughts on Basecamp and just kind of collaborate on Basecamp for what the full survey looks like. And then once you have that list finalized, we can identify the targets. I also think it's fine if we, in cases, intentionally survey someone differently than others, right? So if we're sending something to a couple Latin American associations and are particularly concerned about how they see the concept of race versus ethnicity, right? That might be something that we could include on that survey that's a little bit more targeted versus the general survey. So I don't want to, it's a little bit more difficult to manage, but as long as the person who's doing the follow-up knows that, it could work well to get more info.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think once we have our questions flushed out, then we can see, but I also, I see the, like, other organizations really having feedback on a lot of those issues that fall in that category. So it was almost like, as long as there's like I don't care button, or I have no thoughts on this button, then, I think it would probably work to have a very similar survey. At least then we'll see how many people are, I can't think of the word, not empathetic. What's the
Apathetic.
Apathetic, thank you. Who are apathetic to some of the issues, which was also a early concern, right? Like, are we making things issues that, stakeholders don't believe are issues? And what is the appetite of our community around some of these issues? And that is equally interesting data, because we all know we're vested, we're here, and I would love to see what our neighbors think. So does anybody come with questions tonight, as we're?
I did.
All
I
right.
don't have anything to share, but on my commutes this week, I've been thinking through it.
Okay.
And
So SJREC, remind us of your area, what are we calling your priority area?
Our priority area. So David's and mine's priority area, it was around the just the title of the community review board, but disclaimer, we're not sure if that's what we would even call it at the end of the day, because the goal wasn't really to review, generally speaking. So what I was thinking would be interesting, one of the reasons I wanted to do a survey for our priority area is to understand the strength of the partnerships that already exist, right? So basically asking the different organizations on that list, how often do they actually meet with BPD to talk about issues that are going on with their community, right? So what is the communication level that goes on between that organization and BPD? Kathy, you just mentioned that some of them had never even been contacted. So I guess a first question is just generally, have you been contacted, right? And when was the last time you were contacted? and then start to ask some more open-ended questions about what more do you think BPD can do to service your particular community, right? And start to dig into what is really the perception of the service they're getting, because there's one relationship is the perception of the partnership, right, of just like the top to top talking, but then the second perspective is, as that goes deeper into the community, does that tight relationship, if there is one there, actually continue to hold? So I was thinking probably 3 to 4 questions, one just around how often they chat with BPD and if there's structure and if they feel like that's working, and then one kind of open-ended question about what more do they feel like BPD can provide to create a stronger relationship.
How do you respond to this survey? I mean, I want to know, if you want me to write questions, how are they responding? Like a little, a lot, sometimes, never? What is their response?
I think we have,
how do we do that?
we can do it. We can have a lot of freedom.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, because if I'm writing a question, I have a question in mind, but I'm trying to figure out, like, these aren't open-ended questions. So
Well, that is a question, Kathy, I think, and as SJREC was talking, I am like, are these true false questions? Are we giving options? You know, are we going to give, you know, 7 or not even 5, rank these in priority, or what are you, are we doing that? Or are they short essay? Are they 2 sentences? So
there's some science around how you survey groups, and so you do want to be careful about how many options you give and how many free-form answers you request, right? So free-form answers should come at the end. You should probably not have more than 2. In terms of how you present the questions that you want to answer, it's actually pretty incredible in surveys we run how fast you see drop off in responses after you ask more than 2 or 3 questions, right? So we'll run surveys against our user bases, and it's like they'll answer the 3rd question and nothing else will get answered, and we only grabbed and we're able to get that because they're like, now I'm busy and this is too much. So we're going to want to set the right expectation before they click into the survey that this is a 3 to 5 minute thing. Our questions, I think we should keep to either scales or multiple choice. If it's multiple choice, try to keep it to like 3 to 5. If it's scale, try to keep it 1 to 5. 1 to 10, too much room for interpretation, right? It's like, what is the difference between a 6 and a 7? Whereas the difference between a 2 and a 4 or a 3 and a 4 is pretty clear, right? As to what that perspective is. So as you guys are thinking about it, my recommendation is that we should strive to not have more than, let's say, 8 questions, right? 10 feels like a lot. 8 you can usually fit on one screen, which is helpful if you never have to click next. In tools like Google Forms and stuff that we can use to surveys, we can definitely set up a bunch of different types of options, but I would recommend a 1 to 5 scale most times, and then a couple free form.
So we had how many priority groups? 4?
4.
So if we're saying, you know, 8 questions, is that everybody trying to come up with 2 solid questions for their area?
Yeah, I think so. I think we could probably have some just shared questions around like demo and level of engagement, and then 1 or 2 particular questions. And I think there's opportunities. Like, I think what Kathy and Lauren have been talking and thinking about might be pretty well aligned with what Davis and I have been talking and thinking about.
Which is what, right, something that I did want to point out to Kathy. I think the way the police review board concept kind of evolved, it did really evolve into just community engagement, like how comfortable are you dealing with BPD, and so, which was exactly what Kathy and Lauren's area was. So hopefully, you know, those questions will be informative for the both of you. We actually did I don't know if it's going to be as big of a thing with only 8 questions, but a conversation around 1 through 5. And when we have 1 through 5 and the number of 3s you get when you leave a neutral, an ability for people to kind of respond, you know, neutrally. And so we did this, we revamped our employee surveys to only have 1 through 4, so that you almost had to have people kind of fall on one side or not. So that is also something to think about as well, especially when we're talking about issues of race and social justice. A lot of folks want to sit in the middle on that. So it is just something to think about. Who did we lose? SJREC in his, did we lose him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't he just pay somebody to upgrade his internet? Okay.
Not working. It's not working.
Yeah, any thoughts, Janice, on where we're going with this?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't know where we were going with this before this meeting. So,
Okay. Well, we're here.
but I've thought of a couple of questions just now, so I have to figure out how to formulate them, I guess. So,
Okay. And like I said, feel free if you think your questions need context, let's talk about that. Again, we don't want to make our survey too long, but we do want to make sure that we're giving context.
Question. I mean, it's very difficult to write survey questions, in my opinion, to get what you really want. So, I started off doing it and trying to think of it in the community engagement part, looking at what Brookhaven has done and try to come up with questions, and I gave up. So I worked with the COPS program many years ago in DeKalb County, excellent program, and they got great questions. There are, I guess they're tried and true. It's not copyrighted, they're good to use. So, my two questions, and if Lauren comes back, I pretty almost got them, and they're pretty good. I mean, I want to get to the core of what we're looking for, some good answers, So it's kind of important that what we want, we're trying to glean from the people, so we can be able to address it and take it back to Brookhaven Police. So if I ask a question like, how often do you talk to your police in Brookhaven? Little, none, never. Probably in most cases, most of the people who are arrested in Brookhaven, right, are from outside of the city. But the police do engage in Brookhaven. They're getting ready to do a hot glow or something. It's a glow walk or run, something in the community. And that is what they use to take kids shopping, which is a good program. So you see that they are interacting with them. And so that's where I got my question. So I just want to tell you I'm good cheat.
Actually, that's an interesting point, Kathy. So one of the things that Davis and I had talked about was like, there's this stigma around the concept of this board, because it's like the angry people who are trying to defund the police or whatever, right? But really, we were thinking about it from a two-sided perspective, where there's the stuff that the community wants the police to do, but then there's stuff that the police are doing that they are engaging in the community. And so we could probably think of questions that gauge the awareness of these sorts of things as well from these organizations, right? Because Davis and I had talked about how external partnerships aren't just about accountability, but also about trust building, right? And those sorts of things. And so if we find ways, I mean, we wouldn't ask the question of, do you know about the glow run, right? But you could have like 4 PPD events and say, can you check the ones you heard about, right? Or something like that, and start to get a sense
but
of,
they aren't on the calendar. I mean, they aren't on the calendar. I checked the 2021 calendar. They do something with Hispanic Heritage event, but October is Hispanic Heritage Month. It's not on the calendar. So I checked the calendar. They're not on the calendar. I've had them and they've taken them off. I would hate to ask questions. That's good, because we got Sergeant Major Harold with us. So that if you ask the question like, are you aware that they do shop with the cop? They don't call it that. Cop shop with the badge, shop with the badge. Are you aware of that program? Probably not. Most of the activities that are done that I could see in Brookhaven, most of them are basically with small elementary age children. They're not very many with children. But that wasn't the point I was trying to make. What I was trying to say is, I got the question, And I don't want to just bash Brookhaven, because if you ask me that question now, the first thing I would do, if I was going to give you an honest answer, I would go on the website and see what was there. Okay. And so, people are a whole lot savvy than they used to be. And I agree with you about a survey. I think about how many surveys I've taken in the last year. And I think I want to quick, fast, and a hurry, get it over with. I got to keep going to the next page. I'm like, I'm over this. So we need to make it interesting enough for people to do it, and not frightening enough or so wordy that people just say, forget it. If I understood the question, I would answer it. We don't need questions like that. So that's just a few ideas about it. But I think it can be done, and I think it's a good idea, but I think the questions should be categorized. That they don't kind of like overlap, or if they do have an overlap, that we can kind of work it so we get more meat out of it. And just wasting our time canvassing.
Yeah, and I think, I think the one thing, because we run a lot of surveys at work, it's pretty critical for what my group does at work. And one thing I do tell my team is like, and talk to people about is that even if you think that the answer is going to be A, still ask the survey question, because you don't actually know that the answer is going to be A. We just think it, right? And and I agree that people are savvier and they're going to
usually see.
Exactly. Right. So it may be a foregone conclusion that they haven't heard about it. Right. And it's like, that's what we expect. We don't know how many people haven't really heard about it. Right. And even if they go on the website, you could ask the question, have you participated in? Right. Or have you helped market? Right. If we're sending it to organizations, like there's ways to get to the same answer. So I think what we need to start by doing is by just sourcing those questions from our groups, getting them into a central location. And then I'm happy to help wordsmith, right? What I'll make Monique do is schedule a 1 hour meeting with me. And that way both of us have a block on our calendar, and then we have to do it, right? And no one can double book me. They do all the time though. And we can kind of help with the wordsmithing to make sure that we understand the intent of the question and are asking it in a way which gets the response.
All right, that's great. That's good news.
That'd be good. Because I think the Brookhaven police are doing quite a bit, but I don't know how much people are aware of it.
You're on mute, Monique.
If something they're doing is really relevant to like your area, again, around racial data for me, right? Like ours is really just trying to get to the bottom of the Black, the white, Hispanic thing. I again foresee our question having the background that says, federal law requires that, racial data and ethnicity data is collected and BPD follows this. Then here's the question, whatever the question is that gets to that, because I don't want to start with something that people are like, we shouldn't be collecting this anyway. Like I wouldn't ask a question that says, do you believe that it is important to collect racial data? Because regardless of what they believe or not, it's already governed by the federal government. My Connie and I's point here is kind of, how are they getting the data? How are they, how it's at least around the data, are they only getting it through self-reporting? Are they getting it through the observations of the police officers? Are they getting it through, the observation of the person they're having the contact with? And how do we improve that so that it's actually, accurate, or that it is accurate, or confirm that it's accurate, or whatever. But again, I wouldn't ask a question about whether they think that that's important, because quite frankly, it doesn't matter if they think it's important. It's a federal rule and they're doing it. So that was something that I would expect Major Harold, if I did ask that question, her to be like, well, Monique, I mean, we got to collect it now. You got some better way to do it. You're trying to get information around it, God bless you. But at the end of the day, we don't want to get back a bunch of data that says, we don't care what race the person is and you shouldn't collect it at all, because then that would be a useless data point for us at this time in our lives. And it would be contrary to what I think is important anyway, but still it wouldn't be useful. So, yeah, Janice, that's that particular information, any information that you have already that you and Zaki like really put together a lot of good information, and it was really based on the data that you had. And then if you could figure out a question that would target like those blind spots, those, additional challenges that you identified after you digested the data, that would be the question. That would be the question. All right. Okay. So plan of action is, can we get the questions, at least a draft question, three, let's do 3 draft questions from each group by a week from today. So by Wednesday, if we can have our 3 draft, Mindy, does that seem like a reasonable timeline? Our 3 draft questions from everyone by Wednesday. And then of course that would give us 12 questions, but we're not going to have 12 questions. We're hoping to be able to collapse some, throw some out. We may have duplicates, we may have whatever. Even if you think that you have 5 questions, go ahead and give me 5. I'd rather scale them down than not have enough.
And draft as in like the true sense of draft. Don't worry about the measurement being perfect, right? Or the wording being perfect or anything like that. Like if you got 3 in your head right now, let's just go ahead and post them in Basecamp, right?
Yeah. Just true sense of draft, just put something down and let us work together. Everybody will work on everyone else's questions, just so that, we're also stakeholders as well. So if we don't like the questions as a committee member, if I'm your subcommittee member and you don't like my questions, Kathy, then why send them out of our committee?
Like it.
Right. Like we'll get
like questions.
Yeah, we'll get them together. So let's do that by a week from today. And then Sharuk and I will, within the next 2 days after that, Sharuk, Mindy, and I will meet to kind of finesse those questions, and we'll keep the conversation going in Basecamp until the next meeting on that. And that will get us hopefully able to, and also please look at the partnership list and, let me know if you see someone who you don't, or who you do want to make sure particularly that your survey goes to. But at this point, I'm thinking are we gonna use all of these plus some, or are we gonna take some out?
In the list?
In the list.
I think I think Major Hara will go do one more finalization of the list, but
Okay.
I don't see the harm in sending it to everybody.
Okay. Yeah,
Right?
I'm
Some of them are
looking at-
dupes in there. You'll see multiple of the same email address, so we'll just filter
okay.
out the dupes.
Okay, so at most, right now, my little form says 72, but there's spaces and all that stuff. So some number under 72, which was kind of where I was getting our 10 points of contact each commissioner from. So
an idea is, I'm thinking a lot about the outreach of this, because I know it will not be enough for us to just blast it out. Like, we're really going to need Kathy to, actually call up your friends at the Linwood Civic Association, call up your friends at the, Janus OLA, to make sure that they actually do it. So I guess I raised that point because I want everyone to be putting their kind of like outreach engagement hats on. And then another idea that popped up in my mind was that we could see about having this. There is a Social Justice, Race and Equity Commission email address, like brookhavenga.gov email address. And I wonder if it comes from, an official email, if folks might take it a little bit more seriously than if it came from mindycow3@gmail.com.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, really, I think if we can get some credibility behind it, I think it's more likely to get responses. I mean, generally speaking, your rates on survey responses are like 10%. You're getting 15%, you're
afford that.
doing real good, you
Yeah.
know?
Mm.
So if we only have 72 people and we want meaningful feedback, having credibility going into the conversation and then the active follow-up is how we're gonna get anywhere over 10%.
Yeah, and that's what I meant by get your 10 organizations, is what Mindy's saying. Mindy's saying, I'm saying like 10, if there are 10 that you're particularly interested in, go ahead and identify them. Otherwise, you'll be assigned 10. And that means there's a phone number on here, there's an email address. You will be following up. We really can't afford 10% of 75 surveys. Like that's just not gonna get it. And so we're really hoping, and that's why the number's so low. I mean, we're really hoping for something extraordinary. And in the event that we reach out to these people and somehow they feel like they're not the best person, you know, to speak for their organization or respond to the survey, we'll get that information and be able to, you know, forward it on or let them forward it on. The more the merrier, but this is definitely a start. So let's do it. So
Sure.
that's,
I have a question.
go ahead.
I have a question. Okay, so if Mindy is saying that, okay, the first blast that would go out to my, like, if I chose 10 places, the 10 places I choose, the first point of contact will be from the Social Justice Commission. It will say that in the email, and then it'll say what we're doing. It won't just be my name, because it'll be like, hey, I could be
Right.
anybody, you know? So because Brookhaven has ran this commission since whenever, long time to me. we are known, you know, I mean, people know about this commission. So when they see that email, that direct email coming in and you saying, I want, you know, who would participate in the survey, then you can count on it. And then, you know, I will call and I will, you know, push them a little bit to get it done. Like we can say, I'm one of the commissioners, I'm working with this, you're one of the places I'm working with, and I really need you to get that survey for me.
Yeah.
That way, I got a foot in the door when you go before me, you know?
Yep.
I mean, I know the people I survey and they will do it, but the people I don't know, you know, I can kind of get the foot in the door. But if that social justice come before me, they know that I'm not like somebody up the street emailing them with. It just makes it better.
I agree. You're certainly right. Okay, well, it looks like we have a really solid way forward, and we have the buy-in of the subcommittee. SJREC, when I was having it, can we put a pin in this? Everybody knows what we're doing. We're good on this. All right. When I was having technical difficulties earlier, I don't know if, did you start or mention at all the inclusive dinners with BPD?
Yeah, I did.
So what is our next steps on getting that scheduled, Mindy? And I know, I thought it was we were under a deadline, and then you gave me we have a little more time.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
So I'm actually on Basecamp right now. I'm just
Okay.
looking at the convo to see where we left it. Okay, so yes, Major Harrell provided us with the different patrol shifts. So we just need to provide Major Harrell with some times that would work for us. It seems like is where we're at. And Major Harrell, one of the questions that I had was just, you know, you basically have 12-hour shifts, but that covered, you know, all 24 hours in the day. And so is there a preferable time? Should we provide options for the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then options for 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.?
Okay, so the way that our 12-hour shifts work, 1 week they work 5 days, which is Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and they're off Wednesday and Thursday. Then the following week, they only work 2 days, which is Wednesday and Thursday, and they're off the other days. So usually when we're trying to do something and we want to hit both rotations, we'll do like a Tuesday and a Wednesday. That way we're hitting both rotations on one of their days off. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Did I confuse you?
But I'm like, someone's always got to work on Tuesday, Wednesday, right? Or Tuesday. Thursday.
So you
But it's
have one,
different people. It's
Right,
different
it's
people.
different.
Like one group is working Tuesday and then the other group, their day would be would include Wednesday. And
Wednesday.
so if you do an event on Tuesday and Wednesday, you got the group that worked through Wednesday and then you got the group that stopped on Tuesday. So it's two different groups. They're like
So-
going this way.
And the reason why we pick like a Tuesday and Wednesday, so if you do something on a Tuesday, that other rotation will not have to be to work until 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. So you don't have them coming off of working all night and then having to be somewhere, that day after they get off that morning. Same thing with Wednesday. If you do it that evening, or if you do it on Thursday, those people that worked on Monday and Tuesday, they'll have an opportunity to rest before they have to attend the dinner. Does that make sense?
I don't know why I'm having a difficult time.
But,
But what I'm hearing
you know,
is that Wednesday's a good
she knows.
day to it.
Tuesdays
Tuesday
and
and
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Tuesday and Wednesday.
Tuesday and Wednesday, or a Tuesday and a Thursday, because then you don't have to worry about that group that worked on Monday and Tuesday. They don't have to come back to work until Friday. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or did I confuse you? And the group that works on Wednesday and Thursday, they don't have to come back to work. They don't have to come to work until Wednesday. So if you do it on, Tuesday, then, they'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to do it on Sunday, maybe because they just got off work Monday morning. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if we did a Tuesday and Wednesday, we would be able to get both groups. And if we did a dinner or early evening dinner, we would get, everybody would be on at a certain time for dinner, right? Like both groups would be represented.
Right. You will be able to hit both rotations. The shifts are called Alpha, Bravo, Delta, and Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta. So you would be able to hit both rotations on each day. So Alpha and Bravo would attend one day, and Charlie and Delta would attend the other day because they work on different days.
Okay.
And, let me kind of worry about and figuring out because unless you work, I've been working 12-hour shifts for a long time. So it comes natural and easy for me to understand it. So if I can give you some dates if you tell me about when you want to have it, and I can give you some dates to let you know.
When we would capture the most people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then as far as the administrative staff, they work Monday through Friday. And right now we are temporarily out of the office, our administrative staff, because of the COVID spike. And really, we suspended all in-person community meetings, and we're kind of like playing it by ear. Okay. So if we do set up something, we're making sure we're being really safe about it.
Well, so we can do a virtual one. We had virtual dinners, or inclusive dinners or gatherings. So if we need to have a virtual option and then 2 in-person ones, or whatever, we can do that, and we'll host accordingly. So
we can find a space that would accommodate in person and still allow us to spread out. Because how many officers would you want to attend the dinners? Is there a cutoff number?
So the ideal conversation size is 3. They say 3 to, or I'm sorry, not 3, 6 to 8, but I really think it's more like 6 or 7.
Okay.
So let's say there are 3 commissioners at each, just accounting for, some folks just might not be able to make it work. So like 3 or 4 at each. Do you think there are more officers in that want?
Are you saying 4 at each, Mindy? So like 4 commissioners and 6 people per table? So are we talking like?
Well, yeah, I wasn't even thinking about multiple tables. I was just thinking about a single table.
Oh, yeah.
Or we could do multiple table.
That's what I was gonna say. I thought it was like, if we had 6 people per group, we just need we need one host per 6 people, right? Or 2 hosts per 6 people. Okay, so one host per 6 people. As many, I don't know, like, what's our budget? Is this something that we're able to pay for as the commission? Like, are we paying for a
Christian
dinner? Like, are we paying for a dinner the way we had dinners already? Or are we doing a BYOB, or not just bring brunch? The B stands for brunch. Like, what?
My understanding, Monique, was that all the dinners outside of the ones that happened on the 9th were self-funded.
Okay, so, like, I mean, it seems like we are, it seems like we should find a way to at least, I don't know, I mean, we're almost still doing our research and in our engagement, and to ask them to come out to buy their own dinner to talk to us doesn't seem exciting.
I don't mind asking Christian, CC Major Harrell for a little bit of weight.
And then I don't know what the rules are on that, Major Harold. I know as a federal employee, I mean, I guess if it's the city providing it, then it wouldn't be as big of a deal, but I don't know. Like, I know that we can't go get free donuts at Dunkin' Donuts as a federal employee anymore because of some ethics stuff. So I don't know what, if there are any ins and outs and concerns about that for BPD as well.
Right. I mean, yeah, we do have a policy on, self-accepting gratuities. But we have people in the community that does stuff for us all the time. They host a luncheon for us every year for Christmas. And so things like that is fine. And especially since this is part of the city, it's really attached to the city. So it will be fine. And I really think that it'll be more effective if we do it in person. Just me knowing, how officers are. I think you will get more engagement in person versus virtual, to be honest with you. And we can set it up to where, and I'll run it by the chief just to make sure that he's good with it. But we can pick a location and set it up to where we can do it safely.
Okay.
We might be able to use a park or something like that too. Hang out in a gazebo, or depending on the timing.
The rec center at Linwood, we've used that before for our Christmas luncheon, and they have the gym, and then they have another room, community room, that is pretty large, and you can spread out pretty well.
I was thinking outside gazebos, just in case that's what people are comfortable with. I'm fine in the community room, but just wanted to be flexible.
Gazebo.
What was that, Mindy?
I said Blackburn Park has a great gazebo.
Yeah, they
Blackburn does have a nice outdoor area.
So Major Harrell, I heard you say that rather than me getting dates from the commissioners, you're going to get dates from, or you're going to look at the calendar to see what dates work best for officers.
That's not what
because the ones that we really would have to be concerned about are the ones that work shifts. And because I know the schedule really well, and I can look at the calendar just to make sure we don't have like trainings or anything like that going on. Okay. I can give you some dates. If you give me just a general idea.
Time frame. Yeah, that's what I think she needs the time frame. That's what she's.
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna punt that to the commissioners.
The month of September.
Yeah.
So that's what I was gonna say. If we say the second and third week of, so the second week is the Labor Day week. So if we said that the third week of September, the September 13th week, the week of September 13th, do you think that just like one week and two different time frames would be enough for you to kind of work with, Major Harrell?
Yeah, I'm looking at the calendar now.
What? So we are over time, and I
Yeah.
do have to go. So why don't we just? I think we have a conversation going on Basecamp about the dates anyway. So why don't we just tentatively plan somewhere in like the second to third or fourth week of September, the Major Herald, if you just want to take a look at the calendars and let us know if that makes sense, and then we can come back to the committee and start sourcing some volunteers for those sessions.
Okay.
And then for the survey, we'll just go ahead, like Monique said, by next Wednesday, have your draft questions in. But like we said, draft is just rough draft, high level, right? And please, if you have them ready, no reason to wait on Wednesday, because one of the things is the more people who start posting early, the more people will respond and post too, right?
How many, so back to that question real quick, Mindy, as far as a number of officers, are we saying that we're fine with doing like 3-4 groups of 6, 8, 6, so like maybe 18 a session? So I don't know, like what are we?
You all can, so assuming all of the subcommittee members are comfortable being a host, you can have as many groups as there are subcommittee members, because that just means one host per group, but it'll be like one commissioner to 4 officers, 5 officers.
5 officers.
Another thing that might affect the size and number of groups is how many officers opt in to participate, because if it's just 3, then everyone should just be in the same group,
So it sounds like Major Hair, I was just trying to give her an idea. Like, it sounds like we'll be able to accommodate like 40 if 40 want to participate.
Oh, okay.
Like, but that's 20 on each day. That's
Okay.
that's 4 commissioners each day. I'm thinking of our subcommittee, we could do 4, even if 2 people do both days. Like I think we could guarantee 4 hosts, and then 5 officers a host. So that's 20 on each day. That's 40 officers at most. And then whatever it looks like from there. And you can let us know if you get a whole lot of interest, we will recruit more people. If you get less interest, then we will maybe limit it to 1 day or something like that, or a smaller venue. And we'll get back with you on where and how we're paying for this.
Okay.
Okay.
And are y'all going to put the questions on Basecamp? Because I think SJREC said he wanted me to look over them.
We do.
Okay.
We definitely want you to. Okay.
And the hot pursuit, the glow run on Saturday.
I'm going to Canada.
You can walk it. You can walk the 5K. We have a mile too. So
I'll hit you up about that.
3 miles.
I'm very conveniently out of the country.
3 miles. 3 miles.
I got you. All right, everyone. Well, it is 6:35, and I am adjourning our meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for 2 weeks from today, and we are not allowed yet to change our cadence because we're not caught up yet. So hopefully after this next meeting, we'll talk about once a month meetings. Cool.
Cool.
Thanks, everybody.
I appreciate y'all. Good night. Thank you for coming out.